guys, Renata Sander here from MeetAdvisors.com, and I'm joined with Chris Hartman, Chicago City Manager of SpaceWays. How are you?
I am doing good. Yourself?
Good, good. Thank you so much for coming out to our office.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to start off with asking you to tell our audience a little bit about your background, specifically you.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm the city manager here in Chicago for SpaceWays. A little bit about me. I spent the first 6 years of my professional career in the finance field selling various financial products. And then fast forward to about 3 years ago, I decided to take the entrepreneurial leap, if you will, and join the startup scene in Chicago. And toward the tail end of last year, I found SpaceWays and began working with them to build the Chicago market. And we're excited for the challenge ahead.
So what is SpaceWays? What do you guys do?
Yeah, great question. So SpaceWays is an on-demand valet storage service.
Okay.
So what exactly is that?
Yeah.
I think as I'm having conversations with Chicagoans, it's apparent to me that everybody pretty much knows what self-storage is.
Mm-hmm.
You load up your items, you transport them over to a facility that you've rented, and you go back and forth every time you need something. SpaceWays is bringing convenience to that process in an on-demand valet door-to-door type of service. So the way it works is someone will go to spaceways.com, they would place an order, they would indicate how many bins they need, and unfortunately it doesn't fit the screen, but we have high quality eco-friendly bins that would be delivered to the customer. Those would be empty, they can load them up at their convenience, gather any larger items that they might have as well, and then schedule a date and time that's convenient for them, for us to show up at their doorstep, gather all those items into our truck, move them to our secure facility, and then anytime they want something back, they log into their dashboard, indicate 1, 2, all their items to be returned, and those are back within 24 hours.
Wow. So do they like label, maybe I only want bin 1 or something because I know, my favorite pairs of shoes are in there, something like that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a nice dashboard that customers have access to where as they're packing up those bins that we provide, or I should also note that if somebody has their own boxes and bins that they have, we can take those too.
Okay.
We provide the boxes and the bins more as a courtesy, if you will. It's a convenience. We want it to be very, we want to remove the pain from that whole process of self-storage. So those boxes are meant to be a nice gesture, if you will. So, as they're in that dashboard and they're packing up their bins, they can indicate in bin 1 I have my shoes, my sweaters, and even Christmas lights. And then in bin 2 I have X, Y, and Z. So they can indicate what's in there so it can trigger their memory when they want something returned. Rather than having everything come back, they can indicate 1 or 2 items.
Oh, okay, cool. And do you see a specific kind of market, so a specific kind of person that uses it? Maybe do you see businesses using it? Is it more people? So who uses your product?
Yeah, great question. So for us, it's very difficult to put a very specific use case or target market together, if you will, because realistically, self-storage can fit into a young professional's life all the way up to empty nesters who are downsizing. So the number of instances throughout one's life where storage can fit in, there's a lot of them. So for us, we try to target life events, and I'll use myself as an example. When I first graduated college, I moved into a small apartment. It was under 400 square feet. It was really tiny, but I was lacking space, and I felt like I really didn't have a home at that time, and I just kept living in it, and then one day I just decided, hey, I'm gonna look at getting a locker. So I ended up getting one, and I wish SpaceWays existed at that time. I definitely would have leveraged it, but I rented the locker, decluttered my place, and it began to feel like a home to me. So that's one use case where this type of convenience on-demand storage could actually fit in.
Okay. And so you're the first U.S. employee. You started the Chicago office. So you guys are headquartered in Berlin.
Yep.
What were some of the challenges you saw? First of all, being the first U.S. employee, or I feel like you may not have someone to relate to in U.S. specifically when starting this here. Yeah. So what are some of the challenges you saw doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not alone in embarking on solving self-storage for Chicagoans the convenient way. We've got a great team assembled in Berlin, Germany. We've got 3 great co-founders who founded SpaceWays jointly together. So the support is definitely there. So I'm not alone in Chicago. We also have employees here as well. But I think one of the challenges I've experienced, like in the early stages here, and I think we experience it in some other markets too, is building trust with the end customer. We want Chicagoans to know that every item that or bin they fill and trust us with is never going to be lost. So when you think of other on-demand businesses or other e-commerce businesses, they all have the advantage of if something doesn't arrive or delivery doesn't show, they can send out another one. With us, if we lose something, that item is precious, it's near and dear to someone's heart, and it just can't happen. So that's a challenge that we've faced early is working and focusing on building up that trust in the Chicago market with the residents.
And how are you doing this? So what are the steps that you are taking to build this trust with the residents?
Yeah, I think a lot of it starts with the operations and logistics side.
Okay.
So we've got a very strict set of processes and systems that we adhere to. And those systems also include IT and technology as well. So that's that side, and then on the other side we have the customer service, so the education. If someone has questions and they just want to talk about the service and throw us questions and get answers, that's something that we're really focused on. In addition to the 24-hour monitoring on closed circuit television of the warehouse to our dedicated drivers. All of that kind of has come together and allow us to say we've never lost an item. And I think that cements a good foundation for us to begin building upon it and growing trust with the Chicago market.
All right, great. And what is, one of your greatest accomplishments, or, that moment when you're like, yes, I'm so excited about what I've created here?
Yeah. Well, I would say, so we recently entered our 5th market, which is Sydney, Australia. So as a company, as a global company, I have to say the fact that we're already in 5 cities globally. But I think if I drill it down into accomplishments here in Chicago, I would say, I try my best to reach out to customers as much as I can, interact with them, understand why they stored with us, what they stored, and just build more of a personal connection, get feedback more or less. And those conversations have all been positive. And as an entrepreneur and somebody who's building something in a community, it's rewarding to hear that right from somebody who's actually made the decision to utilize your service. And that to me is the biggest accomplishment, or I guess maybe it's not necessarily accomplishment, but it's the biggest factor right now for me to keep providing me that fuel to keep things going and keep building Chicago.
And so, kind of moving away from SpaceWays and a little more onto you, we spoke about it in the beginning a little bit, but you haven't always been an entrepreneur. However, do you always have that kind of in your blood, so you knew? How did you get to this point? Yeah.
So as I mentioned in the beginning, I spent about 6 years in finance selling different financial products. And what I found was I wasn't necessarily passionate about that. And I wanted something that I would wake up every day and be motivated entirely. Not to mention, I was definitely motivated in that world, but I wanted something that I lived and breathed. And that's what I found in the entrepreneurial community, the startup world is, everything is kind of, you pave your own path. And that to me was exciting. And when I found my first opportunity in this space, I was incredibly thankful. And to be a part of SpaceWays and the growth we're seeing and the team we've built, I'm incredibly gracious to be where I'm at today.
So wrapping up our segment, what is that one piece of advice that you would give to our community of entrepreneurs on Meet Advisors?
Yeah, great question. Because there's a lot of pieces of advice. I would say, for me, if I go back 3 years ago and I were to say, what's the one thing I wish I would have known going into this? It would have been that there is a lot of uncertainty you're going to encounter. And that could be from the first product you put out, to the first partnership you establish, to the first customer you acquire. The path to get to something that's successful, or that first acquisition, it's not paved. You have to make it yourself, and you have to embrace the uncertainty along that road just to make things happen. And I think the better and the sooner you realize that, and I think you can do that, the better your product will be, the better your business, and ultimately the better professional you'll be.
Great. Well, what's your website? Where can people find out more about you and use SpaceWaves?
Yeah, so people can visit spaceways.com. And we're also on Twitter, space_ways, and then a number of other social media outlets that you can find at spaceways.com.
All right. Well, guys, check out spaceways.com and check out meetadvisors.com for more videos and vlogs. Thank you.